Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that the Center for Student Involvement and Careers, UBC's Vancouver Point Grey campus and I are situated on the traditional, ancestral, unceded territory of the Musqueam people. As we are about to engage in meaningful conversations, although in a virtual setting, colonial legacies and our relationship with Indigenous peoples in these contexts are very much ongoing. I urge you all to reflect on how the land you're on has been a place of living and learning for Indigenous people for centuries, and to educate yourself on how to advocate for Indigenous justice. I would like to also acknowledge that you're joining us today from many places with many different histories, and I encourage you to educate yourself on the traditional owners and caretakers of those lands. You can find more on the traditional owners of those lands at www.nativeland.ca. A warm welcome to you all. I'm a graduate student career advisor at the Center for Student Involvement and Careers. I received my MA in economics from UBC in 2019. And before my career advising role, I worked as a policy analyst with an environmental think tank in Ottawa and economic consultant with Ernst & Young in Toronto. I was once an international student myself, trying to navigate the Canadian job market, and found it really helpful to connect with UBC alumni and learn from their experiences. I'm hoping today's session will help you all learn from the experiences of other international students and navigate your own unique career paths. A few housekeeping notes. You should be able to see a QR code and link on your screen. Please take a moment to either follow the link or scan the QR code to check in and let us know that you're attending the event. Also, please take a moment to turn off your camera and microphone. We ask you to have them off for the duration of the panel. And you can turn them back on when we move you into the breakout rooms for the networking session. As we are in our event space, I'd also like to remind everyone that all members of the UBC community are expected to uphold a respectful environment in which respect, diversity, opportunity, and inclusion are valued. Although we may be interacting in a virtual setting, the expectations for fostering a safe and respectful environment for all remains the same, for all students, staff, and faculty. Launch Your Career in Canada, hosted by the Center for Student Involvement and Careers and Alumni UBC, is UBC's signature programming initiative dedicated to supporting the career development of UBC international students. Each year, Launch Your Career in Canada provides opportunities for UBC's international students to connect with alumni who were once international students themselves and learn from their experience establishing their career. Launch Your Career in Canada this year includes a series of events held virtually between March 7th and March 11th. In these events, you will have the opportunity to hear from alumni, connect and network with industry professionals in a panel and networking setting, discover how to navigate work and research opportunities at UBC, develop job search skills, and learn how alumni made a successful transition from UBC to the Canadian workplace. In today's My Career Story, you will hear from alumni who have followed their curiosities to uncover new talents and passions to pursue rewarding careers. These panelists will speak about their approach to making career and life decisions in times of uncertainty as economic, social, and technological changes continue to evolve how and where we do our work. For those of you who might not know, the Center for Student Involvement and Careers is a resource for all UBC students, which provides access and connections to workplace learning, such as WorkLearn and undergraduate research opportunities, and career development through advising sessions, virtual workshops, and online resources, mentoring, volunteer, and leadership opportunities, as well as opportunities to engage with employer partners and professionals through events like this, employer information sessions, and our Careers Online job board. Now, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to our panelists for today. I'm looking forward to hearing the different perspectives you'll each bring to the conversation we're having. We'll take a few moments for each of the panelists to briefly introduce themselves and their role, organization, and share a little bit about their background and career journey to date. It's my pleasure to introduce our first panelist, Saif Fadi.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm Saif. I graduated from UBC in 2021 from mechanical engineering. And right now I'm an associate consultant with PwC, but prior to that, I was a data and marketing strategy analyst at L'Oreal. Home to me is both Jordan and the UAE, but I have grown up pretty much around the world, including places like Singapore, Thailand, and obviously the UAE and Jordan, before coming to Canada for university. Outside of work, though, I'm a big fan of Formula One and soccer, so I apologize to all the PSG fans on the call today. And I spend my free time basically Olympic lifting, but I'm also a huge fan of good espresso and travel. I actually just got back to Hawaii a couple of weeks ago, so I'm very happy to be here today and share my experiences with all of you.
Nice to have you, Saif. Up next, we have Phoebe Ferrer.
Thanks, Shabnam. Hi, everybody. My name is Phoebe. I used to be an international student from the Philippines, and now I'm currently working in Vancouver. I graduated from UBC with my master's in political science in 2019. And before that, I also took my bachelor's in international relations. In terms of my work, I work at the Asia Pacific Foundation of Canada, which for those of you who don't know, is a nonprofit think tank that specializes on Canada's relations with countries in the Asia Pacific. And there I work as a project specialist, where I work to implement the foundation's international development project that works with entrepreneurs and small businesses in countries like the Philippines and Vietnam. I also just want to say thank you to the Center for Student Involvement and Careers for inviting me to this panel today. I'm also a very big fan of coffee, and when I'm not working on my regular work stuff, I also do some poetry and publishing on the side. But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Thank you for being here. And up next, we have Osman Hajiev.
Yeah. Hello, so I'm Osman, and I studied computer science, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, and I graduated from UBC in 2019. Currently, I work as a software engineer at EA, specifically on FIFA Mobile. And as an international student, I was from Azerbaijan, a very beautiful country. And also in UBC, I was the VP of our small Azerbaijani community. But the only reason I was the VP, because there was not that many of us, unfortunately. So good for me. Anyways, during UBC, I attended lots of hackathons and game jams. A lot of them I just hang out with friends and free food. A few of them I took seriously. And, as you can tell, I am a big football fan. So in UBC, I played a lot of football in UBC Jaguars. I actually know one alumni here, Reda. We played together with him in Jaguars football. I also ski, climb, and I'm looking forward to our interesting discussions today. Thank you.
Nice to have you, Osman. Up next is Mariam Hamid.
Hi, everybody. So happy to be here. So my name is Miriam, and I graduated in 2020. I was one of those people, as my arts advisor said, the only person at UBC to get an interdis degree in economics and anthropology. Very interesting combination. But currently I'm in Toronto. I am an account director for LinkedIn. And my role over there, I work with workforce development across Canada and the US as well. So equipping individuals everywhere with the skills they need for the future of work. Other than that, I am actually from Bangladesh, but home for me is actually Bangladesh, India, and Pakistan. My parents are from the last two, but I was born and brought up in Bangladesh. And in my free time, I like to read a lot. If I have any free time to spare, I will be reading in any and all forms possible. But I'm also new in Toronto, so nowadays, now that it's not freezing, I try to at least squeeze in some time outdoors as much as I possibly can. I'm really looking forward to talking to all of you soon.
Thank you for being here. And last is Tarek Bembo.
Wow, I'm so jealous of everyone's introduction. Let's see if I can top that. So, hi everyone, my name is Tariq. Unlike the other alumnus here today, I am right at the tail end of my PhD, so graduating in May this year, but have been fortunate enough to have found an opportunity in the biopharmaceutical industry here in BC at Amgen. So for those of you who do not know, Amgen is a global biotechnology company. They have a research site here in Burnaby, And at the Burnaby site specifically, I am a scientist that helps them to leverage pharmacokinetic modeling to drive drug discovery. So basically, I am supporting them on their route to developing new therapeutics for people. At UBC, I was a part of multiple initiatives. So I was a part of very vocal student government individual for graduate students. I was a part of the Graduate Student Society as one of the executives for 2 years. I was also the president of the Student Biotechnology Network for those of you who are within the life sciences field. So I did a few work with that team over the last 3 years. I guess one thing that is common to all of us here on the alumni panel is that we all love coffee. And I would also say that if you can't find me at home working, you can probably find me outside singing some good reggae music, as I am originally from the beautiful island of Jamaica. Thank you.
Thank you, Tarek. Thank you all. We're excited to hear from your experiences of navigating the Canadian job market. Before we start, please make note of any questions you may have for our panelists. You will have an opportunity to ask your questions in the networking section of the event. And let's begin with our questions. So the first question is for everyone. We want to know, how did you map your interests and values into fulfilling careers in the first place? And we'll go with Saif, Phoebe, Osman, Mariam, and end with Tarek. Saif, to you.
Thanks. Yeah, I guess the way that I kind of map my interests and values, I'm still actually kind of figuring them out, I would say. But really, everything comes back to just my desire to look for new perspectives. And since I've started at UBC, I've kind of tried to stay true to that value. And so particularly within the co-op program, I limited myself to only 4-month internships and tried to work in as many industries as possible, going all the way from telecommunications right the way to marketing. And I tried to push myself to move out of Vancouver simply to see how I would kind of react to that. So I ended up taking jobs in Calgary, Toronto, and Montreal, just trying to, again, see how I would, adapt and figure it out. And during that process, I did something that I'd actually recommend to everybody on the call. And that would just be to keep a log of the pros and cons of every job or role that you take on, whether that's kind of volunteering or a design team position, right the way to co-op and full-time roles. Basically, I just listed everything I liked and didn't like about it. And in my case, it became very obvious that I didn't really find an industry to call home. And that's what drove me towards consulting and really started to help me refine my values, et cetera. So when I think about mapping those interests and values to a fulfilling career, I will say that to anyone who doesn't know what those are yet, a lot of us have been there, or maybe we are there. And it's okay to go through that self-discovery. I think it's never too late to keep fine-tuning those aspects and take it as you go, I guess.
Thanks, Saif. I really like the perspective of ongoing growth in career development, that we start trying different things, and then those different things get us to new places, and then eventually we can kind of narrow down places we want to be, but it's an ongoing process. Phoebe, how was the process for you?
I would say it was very similar. And something that I was thinking of saying in answering this question was that from the outside, in terms of my career path, it might seem like a very straight line. So I did my master's in political science, and now I work at a think tank that specializes in Asia policy and international development. And it is a good fit for my interests. But personally, it hasn't felt like a straight line for me. It's really felt like I've been jumping around and I don't really know what I'm doing, which I want to say very explicitly here, because I think that's a perfectly normal way to feel when you're early in your career, as am I. For example, when I did my master's, for very practical reasons. I needed a degree because a lot of folks in my industry have a master's degree. I also wanted to try academia and see what that would be like for me. And also very practically, it was a way for me to stay in Canada to continue studying under a study permit. But to be honest, one of the main reasons as well that I took my master's was I was just honestly scared of entering the workforce. I did not know what I wanted to do. I did not have a good idea of what my working life looked like. And so I just wanted basically a buffer room to kind of figure that out for a moment. And my master's degree while being its own thing and stressful, and being a graduate degree, it was the buffer room that I needed. And it did help me kind of figure out my interests. But in terms of how I tried to map my interests and my values into a career, I always knew that I was interested in political science, particularly to do with Asia, myself being from Asia, and particularly development and migration in those areas. And I knew that my current workplace is one of the organizations that did this work in Canada. So I sought out to volunteer with them when I was an undergrad. And that's something that I would encourage other folks to do, was that kind of take a look at the organizations that you're kind of interested in and see how you might interact with them through volunteering and things like that. And also at UBC as well. And yeah, also seeking out opportunities. I was very fortunate to have student staff experience at UBC through my minor program. So yeah, I would really encourage all of you, when you're figuring all of this out, just kind of try a couple things and see what sticks with you and what doesn't stick with you. Yeah, kind of like the pros and cons list that Saif was talking about. But yeah, that's how it's been for me.
Thanks, thanks, Phoebe. Osman, how about you?
Yeah, so I will share my experience and thoughts about this. So basically, you know, like the way I guess I chose software engineering, or even before that, computer science. Like I think, well, there were a lot of factors, like of course, like researching, like, you know, just understanding like how that career could look like the growth of it, what does the future look like for it, and so on. But most importantly, what I did was I looked up like a lot of the people that I admire, say their Wikipedia pages or something. And I just read, you know, okay, so what did they do? Like, what did they study? And it just happened that, like, you know, let's say, you know, a generic example, Elon Musk, for example, at the time for me, you know, a very generic person, right? So I looked up their biographies and I said, okay, well, a lot of the people that I looked up to, you know, they have some sort of either computer science or engineering in their background, and specifically software engineering. And so that's how it picked my interest, and I went for it. And as I dived deeper, I realized, oh, I liked it. It's hard, but it's challenging and it's fun. I love it. Anyways, so, you know, and then I tried to, you know, just get a lot of various experiences just to kind of get to the point I guess I am now. And it wasn't just specifically, like those experiences weren't just specific to tech. Like, you know, I did like part-time, I did like marketing / selling pomegranate juice in trade shows, for example. You know, that's like a little bit of people skills that helped me develop. And also on the side, I helped out a clinic with their website. So, and yeah, I did lots of hackathons and game jams. And then, you know, eventually, of course, I went through this usual tech interviews and prep and all of that. And yeah, and like a lot of these things helped me out. And let me just look at my notes. What else did I wanted to share? Oh yeah, and also, yeah, for the company that, you know, I most importantly paid attention, like when I interviewed with them, like, do I like working with these people? Do they seem cool to me? Do I want to be more like them? So that was probably the top priority. The second priority probably was like, you know, the name. Like in the industry I am in, I know that the name is important. It opens doors in the future. So like I was really trying to get some, you know, specific companies that I wanted, and like their names. So I paid attention to that. Obviously, I paid attention to compensation, and yeah, and most importantly, growth, of course. Yeah. So these were the things I really paid attention to when I was going through my job search. Thank you.
I like the idea of having criteria for yourself when you're looking for experiences, and that can be different for different people. Value, compensation, specific company that they want to work at. And Mariam, how was your experience of starting your career?
So for me, if somebody asked me, what is a job that you want to have, or what do you want to be, I could not give you an answer. I think having studied economics and anthropology, even the fact that I landed on those two, I've always thought I would be an economist. That was the main goal. That's why I came to UBC. Very soon I realized it doesn't let me do the one thing I really love doing, which is being around people. And then I started loving anthropology because it's almost like the study of people and their cultures. So I decided I was going to do both, but I still struggled with the idea of what is the job I want to have. And then one day somebody asked me, forget about the job, forget about all of it, think about what is it that you like to do and what is your unique value to the community that you serve. And I realized the fact that I love being around people, and for any work to be meaningful, it has to be where I get to see the impact of my work very regularly and to see it visualized in front of me. And after that, it almost became so much more easier because I I was a residence advisor, learned a lot, amazing stories, some frightful stories to tell about that some other time. But after that, I was president of the AMS, and in which it was my community. The impact of it is something that I can see. Very humbling job, to be honest. But after that, I think the main realization or the main value I gained from all of it is we are living in a world where there is no saying, or the jobs that you want, the ones that probably don't exist yet. And coincidentally, that is my job at LinkedIn, which is I try diminishing the skills gap or preparing people for it. And a big ideal behind that is you need to figure out what is it that you like doing and the skill that you like. And for me, that was being around people. So if it meant going from public policy and governance from my first job after graduation, which was the kind of job where you think about the definition of something for 8 hours straight in a meeting, which is inside a committee, inside an organization, inside a working group. So I went from that to being in a sales job for technology. But the idea is I still get to do exactly the same thing I was doing, which is being surrounded by a lot of people, hearing their issues and problems and figuring out the ways I can solve it. So I think figuring out the one thing that motivates you every single day, and then going from there, the function of your job will change. But as long as you get to serve that main purpose, I find it's like pretty easy to pivot from that point on.
Thanks, Mariam. Tarek, to you.
Right. So I think for me, my career pathway has been very convoluted. So before PhD studies, I did a bachelor's degree in pharmacy. So I am a pharmacist, practiced in Jamaica as a pharmacist in industry for about 2.5 years. And then ultimately decided that I wanted to go back to school to check out what being an academic was like. And so that brought me to UBC for my PhD. Now, being exposed to academia really showed me that there are a number of advantages to being an academic, but at the same time, there were a number of different things that didn't really appeal to who I was as a person. And so that really led me to undergo a period of introspection and exploration. And I see that that's a common theme throughout my other alumni here, that they utilized their time during school to really introspect and explore alternate and multiple different career pathways. And so that's exactly what I did during my PhD for much of my time outside of grad studies. So I found out that I valued 3 things. Number 1, passion for impact. So anything that I was going to do, I would need to have to be driving some form of change in society and for people. Number 2, I am very intellectually curious. So I knew that any industry that I was going to go into needed to have some component of innovation in that. And number 3, I really wanted to work in an industry that was very dynamic and changing. So the role that I would go into would have to be very dynamic, always changing, not the same thing every day. And for me, the biotech industry really checked all of those boxes. And I explored that during pharmacy school and during my PhD to make sure that this was a great fit for me. So I encourage, the students who are on the call today to, 1, do some introspection, 2, figure out what are key success factors for you in terms of what the perfect career or perfect job for me fit like, and 3, develop the steps needed to enter into that industry.
Thanks, Tarek. What I am taking away from all of your sharings is that to take actions and steps, even if you're scared and not sure of what is going to happen next, and also use this time when you're in school to kind of get experiences and do the trial and error. Not everything that you try you're going to like, but hopefully at the end you will end up discovering something that checks a lot of boxes in terms of what you value, what motivates you. And I'm sure that all of you in this process have had struggles and barriers. So I want to kind of dig into what barriers have you experienced in your career journey. And since we are kind of talking with international students, do you feel like they were any different for from what non-international students were experiencing? And how did you leverage your personal strength, resources, relationships, or networks to overcome them? I'm going to ask Phoebe and Osman to answer these questions for us. Phoebe, we're going to start with you.
Sure. I think one of the main barriers is, I think, plainly your immigration status. As someone without PR, there are a lot of roles that I can't apply for, namely permanent roles, because work permits are time bound. But also in my field, like the kind of shining chalice, the Canadian government or similar opportunities. And there's a stated preference for PR and citizens for those roles. So that's kind of frustrating because there's some jobs that I just flat out can't apply for. And also I think there's just the underlying worry that a lot of international students have and that I still have about maintaining my immigration status because it's directly connected to your work and study. So kind of I would encourage for that one to just seek out the resources that you have at UBC to figure out, what jobs count for your PR application, how to maintain your permit, things like that, because once you're out of the university, you unfortunately don't have those resources as much anymore. So really take advantage of those, such as with the center. I would say another barrier personally for myself was kind of figuring out how to apply what I've learned in my master's degree and the skills that I have to a role or career, because there was kind of just this block in my mind, not really understanding how that translates. There's obviously the government and research roles for my industry, but there are also other things that I could pursue that I've been encouraged to by people in my network, like business development and stuff like that. And for this, I really have benefited from people in my network and my friends seeing how they've kind of applied their skills to different roles, but also people in my network introducing me to new opportunities outside of what I'm doing. And that's actually also something that I'm exploring right now, like seeing what other fields I could tap into and how to basically articulate my skills for those different types of industries. So the research skills that I have, for example, how I can apply those to business development and stuff like that. And then connected to that, the last thing I want to mention is networking. People always say networking, but it really is such a big part of career growth and development. And it can be difficult, particularly for us international students or former international students where we've had to build our networks again in Canada. So all the things that we've kind of mentioned already, like the volunteering, seeking out opportunities while you're still at school and stuff like that is very helpful in just building that network of people who can then lead you to opportunities. But yeah.
Thanks, Phoebe. And Osman, to you.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, I agree with everything Phoebe said, and also to give an example, so I was not in a co-op program, and of course I'm international as well. So and I think the fact that I was not in a co-op program, I think it had an impact on me as well. So for example, once I applied to a bunch of jobs and I got interviews from Lockheed Martin, and it was civil stuff anyway. So and then I did all the interviews. I passed all the interviews, and I actually got a verbal offer. This was for a co-op position. But then what happened was the recruiter made a mistake. In my defense, I would just say I was a kid. I didn't know, but the recruiter made a mistake. You should have checked whether I was in a co-op, whether I was a Canadian citizen before starting all this process. Anyway, so I passed all of this. I add the verbal offer, and then I say, well, I'm a co-op student. This was an 8-month position, whereas, I didn't know you can't do 8 months. You can only work pretty much over the summer as an international student or something like that, right? So anyways, when I said that, I was like, oh, we should have checked it beforehand. Oh, that's unfortunate. Anyways, I didn't hear back from them after that. And there were other situations as well. For example, when I would apply to some internship or co-op in Canada, in many cases, recruiters would just tell me, oh, you're not in co-op? I'm sorry, we only hire co-ops and stuff like that. So looking back, I would, if I were to start it all over again, I mean, no regrets for me, but if I were to start it all over again, I would do a co-op program as an international. If you're not international, I don't know, but for internationals, yeah, it's important, I would say. So and then like, the job applications, I guess, like when you apply to jobs, whether it's internship or a full-time job, like how is it for students? Like you apply, it's like a black hole. It goes, it doesn't come back. So it was frustrating. Sometimes when I would get a rejection, I would be, relieved at least that, okay, so this is what happened. But many times I didn't even get that. What helped me is, I guess, just trying harder. So in my industry, like the interview process with the prep, like I learned how that works. I researched a lot. I talked with a lot of people. So I understood how all that works roughly and what kind of prep I need to do. But on top of that, I was really trying to, I guess, network to benefit from it. Well, what does network mean? Like say, maybe connect with your interest groups or connect with your cultural group or something. And that's how I made a lot of connections and new friends, and they helped me out. I just cold reaches, like cold calls, not cold messages to random people. Many times I didn't hear back. Sometimes I did, and I made friends. So do that maybe. And then how did I utilize it? So like this network, I was able to utilize them, like for example, for referrals, recommendations, which helps a lot with like tech companies. I'm sure it does with other companies too. And like another thing that I wanted to mention, which might not be necessarily which might not be too related to this question, but it's basically career fairs helped me a lot as well, specifically tech career fair, for example. So anyways, connections, referrals, use that.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Osman. We get a lot of concerns from students who have not been in the co-op program, and I think it's good to kind of meet the alumni who have not been in the program, but still got a chance to get those experiences from networking, reaching out to the community. So if you are not in that co-op program, know that there are other ways of gaining that experience through other avenues. And all of the things that you all have shared actually is a good segue to our next question, because you all mentioned gaining new experiences and networking, but students usually want to know how to go about doing that. So we are curious to know like what spaces and places, activities, or experiences have been particularly beneficial in launching your career and building your networks for you, and what tips or advice do you have for gaining these experiences or developing these professional relationships? I'm gonna ask Saif and Mariam to comment on that. Saif, starting with you.
Sure, yeah. So with regards to the first part of your question, I definitely have to shout out Engineers Without Borders here in terms of a space or place, I guess that was so key to me. And there are really two reasons for that. I think the first, it taught me a lot about myself and how much I value tangible impact. It was also the first really leadership role I'd ever taken on. And it was just such a great opportunity to make a difference in something I felt was kind of missing from my experience at UBC at the time. But second is that introduced me to friends and mentors for life, whether that's through the local, the national, or the global network. Meeting to the point where we're meeting some amazing founders out of sub-Saharan Africa, which was amazing. But I also want to shout out Akash here, who's in you'll meet him in the networking sessions. He was one of those people that I met through EWB. We both made our transition from engineering to consulting together and have since basically pushed each other professionally to kind of, go beyond what we thought we're capable of doing. So that involvement is so important in terms of just meeting those people that are really going to help, I guess, push you to the next level. In terms of the second part of your question on tips and advice building on a network, I'll go back to that question in the chat too here, where I'll offer you, I guess, a little bit of advice and doing a bit of Miriam's job here selling LinkedIn, but leveraging LinkedIn. I'm a huge advocate of the platform, not because it helps you find a job, but more because of just the opportunity to connect with some amazing people, as long as you don't forget those personalized invites. I was actually recently on a call with a founder of a dough company in Ottawa, just because I was curious to learn more about her story, for example. And that's just an example of how far that reach can be. But the second is more related to searching for mentors or trying to get that referral. And this kind of sounds tacky, but finding a mentor is really like trying to find somebody who believes in you. You can't pitch yourself as, hey, I'm looking for a mentor, but more letting that relationship build organically. So I'll give you guys a kind of tangible example here. Let's say you connect with me over LinkedIn because I posted a post, let's say, about a book recommendation. A month later, you come back and you say, oh, I've read the book. I really enjoyed it. Do you have another one? I send you another book recommendation and you take it. A couple months later, you come back and share those learnings with me. And all of a sudden, we're talking about careers. Then we hop on a call. We're chatting about my career story. I'm learning about your goals and all the lessons I've learned. A few months later, you apply some of those lessons in your life, and then you share those experiences with me. I'm engaged. We start building that mentorship relationship, and how all of a sudden we have bi-weekly calls going back and forth about your career and mine, and it naturally kind of evolves into that mentorship relationship. So, this is actually based on a true story with someone who today I consider family. I'd introduce him to my parents tomorrow if I could, but he was actually just a new employee at one of my co-op jobs. And today, I consider him a brother. He's a key figure in my life, and we connect every couple of weeks. We catch up about F1 and crypto, but also just how things are going on in our careers. So hopefully that example there kind of helps everybody in terms of how to build that relationship with people. It's definitely hard to meet strangers, but I thought that was kind of a cool example to share with everybody.
Thanks, Dave, for that example, and Mariam too.
I think Saif did such a great job, but I will always take any endorsement for LinkedIn that I can. But a coworker of mine recently shared that 70% of all jobs have some component of influence hiring. What that basically means is that you have been in touch or contact with that individual in some ways other than a job application. There is much, I would say, to talk about in terms of so many questions of why that happens and whether or not that's completely equitable. But keeping that in mind, to me, I think some of the best advice somebody ever gave me was actually at UBC, a UBC staff member who said, I was talking about all these great startups I was in love with. I talked about how great they were. I loved their mission. I would work for them tomorrow if I could. And he said, don't think about that. Find the people you want to work with. And that's how you go from there. Because he said often amazing companies or organizations will be amazing till you talk to the people you would be working with and you realize there's a disparity there. So figure out who those individuals are and go from there. One thing I want to mention specifically about mentorship is if you have a good mentor, the mentor will one day become your champion, and that champion will one day become your collaborator. I think it's really important to think about it in those phases, because the current job I had at LinkedIn, I was recruited for it because of somebody who I considered a mentor. First thing about mentoring, you have to be shameless. And I know it comes really difficult to people, and it completely scared me so much when I started off, because the idea of sending people random messages on LinkedIn, or even sending professors random messages, be like, I took your class, I was one of 160 people in the classroom, but can I please pick your brain about XYZ? And doing the same thing can be terrifying, but please do it. But before you do it, one advice to give, which I now, when I get messages from people, is know who you are, in the sense that I'm not saying you to figure out who you are, what you want to be in life, but know that what is it about me that interested you enough to reach out to me, right? Like, do some of that research, do some of that investment. But as Saif rightly mentioned, don't make it transactional to the point which is, hey, I like you, I like your organization, get me a job. It is really about fostering a really good relationship, because ultimately your mentorship isn't just about the job. You need to be invested in the mentor the way you want them to be invested into your own life, right? My mentor was somebody, I loved his work. He introduced me to the future of work. I did not know that concept. I just thought all of the things I saw around me where people did not get jobs or new jobs were created were just a weird phenomena. He explained all of it to me. And then I was like, oh my God, this is so interesting. And as a result of it, we kept in touch. And then when a job became, and then we became friends. We would talk often. We would collaborate often on just things we were thinking of. And then one day he sent me a message, come work for us at LinkedIn. And I knew that was it. But what has happened since then is, I think because we had that relationship, which wasn't transactional, now he's not just my mentor, he is my champion at LinkedIn. He will pointedly make the effort to bring me into conversations. And now that we work on the same projects, he considers me a collaborator and not just somebody he mentors, because he thinks the quality of relationship in which we collaborate on ideas and labor of our work is really important. So do think about your mentorship and opportunities holistically. and let them nurture and foster the same way you would a good friendship. But yeah, that would be my advice on all of that.
Thanks, Miriam. And I encourage everyone on the call to take some of those pieces in the networking section of the event and try practicing some of the tips that Saif and Miriam shared with us, starting by the alumni present today. It would be a good practice, but also help you to also build relationships with some people in your fields today. And for our last question, we want to know kind of what is one thing you know now about working in Canada that you wish you had known earlier in your career? And I'm going to ask Tarek and Saif to comment on that.
Okay, very interesting question. So I'm going to speak from the background that, you know, I'm a graduate student who had prior work experience coming into grad school outside of Canada. So I think one of the things that I wish I knew about working in Canada that I wish I had known a bit earlier on in my PhD program was just that there is still value in your experience and uniqueness in the previous career trajectory. I think oftentimes as graduate students from international background who have prior experience, who have been in the workforce for some time, I felt that my experience would not be valued to employers in Canada. And so that placed a lot of stress and pressure on me during grad school to really prove to myself and to potential employers that, listen, my experience still curated me the types of skills that you're looking for, and that my experience overall are valued. I would say that, you know, just really echoing what everyone said in terms of how you can develop skills and network to really show employers that your skills and your experiences, albeit not Canadian, still carry some value. And so there are three things that I personally did during grad school to really reduce that internal pressure that I had. Number one, I supplemented those experiences with extracurricular activities that would really complement my prior experience in grad school. So previously I was working in industry, so I looked for extracurricular activities that were extremely close to industry, like Student Biotechnology Network, a number of different other non-for-profit organizations which do not carry the risk of damaging your immigration status. And so I found ways in which I could leverage those experiences to talk up to those points, as well as to juxtapose those experiences with my previous work experience in interviews that I had. Number two, I crafted my personal brand around the type of image that I would want people in industry to have of Tariq, or whenever they would see or hear my name. And so there are multiple different ways that you can craft your own personal brand nowadays. LinkedIn is one of the many ways that you can do that. But also, how do you present yourself when you're meeting an industry individual or when you're meeting new persons? What do I want them to know about me? And what is the main takeaway that I want them to know about what I'm looking for ultimately? And lastly, just echoing what everyone else said, just really finding your cheerleaders, so to speak. So really curating those relationships that will ultimately be able to speak and vouch for you and your capabilities later on out in life.
Thanks, Tarek. Saif, to you.
Yeah, for sure. I really appreciate the last point Tariq made on the personal brand. I think that's super important. I think this question is an interesting one for me, where I guess there are two core takeaways I can provide. I think the first is related to the idea that your career isn't necessarily set in stone. Like I come from a Middle Eastern family where my parents would basically give me the option of either medicine or engineering. Funnily enough, I ended up going into engineering, but beyond that, there was that idea that what you study is what you work, and then what you work is kind of your career for life. But coming to Canada and really being exposed to the culture, I think more broadly within North America, is more that careers are kind of truly flexible, I guess you can say. Where especially in the early stages, I guess I kind of give myself that buffer zone of I have 5 years to figure it out, and then I'll kind of commit to it. But I mean, some of the conversations I've had with amazing people kind of fortify that idea. Really anything is possible. I I think secondly, like kind of like Tariq said, those extracurriculars and those personal projects that really help you build on the skills you'll need in those target roles they actually hold a lot of weight that I didn't really expect it. I think, again, looking back at my background, if I wanted to apply for a job in the UAE, for example, if I'd done a project, nobody really cares. If I had done an extracurricular activity, it holds less weight than it does over here. So I think really identifying those activities is so key to at least building some of those skills where you maybe haven't been able to find a job or it harms your immigration status. And I know the younger Saif would have appreciated knowing those two things and not really putting so much pressure on myself to have everything figured out so early. So that's kind of what I would offer to that question.
Thank you so much. A huge thank you to our incredible speakers for sharing their stories today. I personally appreciate how vulnerable you were in sharing the struggles and concerns you had during your career path. And because as students, sometimes we feel like we need to have figured it out from the very beginning, and those who are successful are also the ones who knew exactly what they wanted to do the first day that they came to school. So it's good to see with diversifying your experiences and reaching out to people who are in roles that you were potentially interested in, you were able to build fulfilling careers. We're now done with our panel portion of the event, and we're going to move into the networking session. We have an exciting lineup of alumni and industry professionals joining us today for the networking session. I'd like to invite our industry professionals to introduce themselves, their role and organization, starting with Akash.
Hi, this is Akash. I graduated from UBC in 2021. And I studied engineering, had a few co-op experiences up my sleeve. And I currently work as a consultant in Deloitte in their consulting practice. And yeah, we provide end-to-end consulting services to large-scale energy and financial services clients in the field of decarbonization strategy and digital transformation. And yeah, I'm happy to be here and get to know everyone and network with everyone.
Anup.
Hey everyone, my name is Anup Shankar. Lovely to meet everyone and see such an awesome turnout. Couldn't echo more of the comments I heard from the panel. I am an older graduate, so yeah, I'm feeling really, really young in this group now. So thank you. I'm a computer science grad, and I currently work as a program manager with Lululemon, and look forward to connecting with all of you.
Arnaud.
Yeah, hi. Great to see so many familiar faces on the panel. My name is Arnaud. I work at Ubisoft as an associate product manager. I graduated in 2021 with a bachelor's in engineering. And currently I organize video game tournaments, trailers, and I'm working on a skin line for esports teams.
Thank you. Aurora?
Hi, everyone. My name is Aurora Takeda. I'm a graduate from UBC's program for Masters in Journalism. And I currently work as a communications co-lead at Sierra Club BC, which is an environmental nonprofit. I think it's a day older than Greenpeace, so technically Canada's oldest environmental nonprofit. And yeah, just working in that sector for a while. Looking forward to connecting with folks.
Thanks. Connie?
Hi everyone, my name is Connie and I graduated from UBC in 2020 with a Bachelor of Media Studies degree. So after graduation, I was very lucky that I landed my first job at UBC actually as a communications and events coordinator. So technically I did not leave UBC after graduation. And yes, if you are interested in communications, digital media, I'm your person to talk to and I'm happy to share my experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Alison.
Hi everyone, my name is Elson. I'm working at Deloitte Toronto as a data engineer in the financial crimes practice. So it means I use, a blend of software engineering and data science to catch bad guys and right now uncover, Russian assets in Canada. I started UBC actually in Bachelor of Arts with economics and psychology, but I ended up graduating from BCom in finance.
Thank you. Faiz?
Oh, thanks, Shabnam, and hello, everyone. So great to be here. Great to see some familiar faces, some friends. So I finished my undergrad in economics and political science, worked for a local government, and right now I'm working as an analyst in the public sector consulting services at M&P based in Vancouver. Looking forward to it.
Thank you, Jovin.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jovin, and I graduated from UBC with a Bachelor of Arts in International Relations last year, and I currently work at Deloitte as a business analyst in our HR transformation practice.
Thank you, Latika.
Hi, everyone. I am Latika, and I did my MBA at UBC Sauder School of Business, and I graduated in 2021, seems like forever ago. I currently work with PwC as a senior consultant out of our Toronto office for the Workforce of the Future team. And before PwC, I worked with a couple of other firms, some of them being Grant Thornton and Aritzia with their internal consulting departments. So super excited to be here today.
Thank you. Lily?
So hi, everyone. My name is Lily, and I graduated from Master of Health Leadership and Policy in 2016. Very glad to be the first one of the only international student in the pillar, and it was the first cohort ever launched. And before that, I did my bachelor's in accounting and finance in London School of Economics. So after graduation, I joined Canadian financial institutions. And then now I'm an independent director in Raffles Financial Group. It's a company that's listed in Canadian Securities Exchange, Frankfurt Exchange, and TUS. So look forward to sharing experiences and learning from everyone here.
Thank you, Mark.
Hey everyone, I'm Mark. I did my Bachelor's of Arts in Economics. Ever since I graduated, I got into real estate finance locally in Vancouver. And I've been working as the Chief Compliance Officer of a local firm that connects investors with real estate deals, both in Canada and the US. So I look forward to connecting with everybody and helping with any questions.
Thank you. Michelle?
Hi, everyone. My name is Michelle, and I graduated with a major in international relations and economics in 2019. And I loved UBC so much that since then I've been working at UBC. I briefly worked at Sauder for a couple of years with the MBA program. And then currently I'm working as an alumni engagement coordinator at Alumni UBC. And yes, I'm quite excited to be here and looking forward to connecting with you all.
Thank you. Moses?
Hi, everyone. My name is Moses, and I graduated from UBC in 2021. I studied business and computer science, and I currently work as a software engineer at Clearco. And Clearco is a company based in Toronto that provides funding and insights to e-commerce companies. Excited to be here and to meet everyone.
Thank you. Natalie?
Hi, everyone. So I graduated in 2021 with a Bachelor of Arts in International Relations and also minored in Middle East Studies. And like several of my colleagues here, I actually stayed at UBC, and it's funny because I attended this event last year. So it's funny to see that a year later, I am now here just mentioning that, yeah, I work at Go Global as a student information program assistant, and I've been here for the months after graduation. So I'm happy to share my experience with you all.
Thank you. Ron?
Hi, everyone. My name is Ran. I graduated in 2018 from arts faculty with a double major of economics and statistics. I'm currently a financial advisor with Royal Bank of Canada, which sounds so boring compared to the rest of the panel. But I'm very excited to be here today and looking forward to talking to some of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Rada?
Hi everyone, thanks for having me today. So I'm Reda. I graduated in 2018 with a bachelor's degree in sociology, so that's in arts. And right now I live and work in Montreal, and I'm an international recruiter that focuses on IT.
Thank you. Rotimi?
Hey everyone, Rotimi here. Graduated in December of 2020 with a BA in economics and a minor in commerce. I started at DocuSign in a sales role after graduation and recently transitioned into talent acquisition. So now I'm working as a talent acquisition partner at IBM, and I manage recruitment for early professional hire roles. So I'm excited to get to meet some of you here.
Thank you all for being here. We invite you now to please turn on your camera and add your full name and pronouns to your screen name, if you are comfortable doing so. There will be 3 rounds of networking in small breakout rooms. Each round will last 10 minutes. This is meant to be informal, so feel free to follow the natural flow of conversation. You should have received some networking questions in your reminder email. You can use them and refer to them during the networking round. Rounds 1 and 2 will be themed networking, and round 3 will be open networking. And you can move freely throughout this round. In round 1 and 2, which is themed networking, there will be multiple breakout rooms for each topic. Please refer to the student event guide in your confirmation email for a list of breakout room topics and which alumni will be speaking to which topic for each round. When the breakout rooms are ready, you will see a pop-up message on the bottom of your Zoom control saying, join a breakout room. Once you click the pop-up, you will be able to view the breakout rooms with all 23 of our alumni. Select the breakout room you would like to join and click join. Once you join a breakout room, you must remain there for the full duration of the networking round. You will receive a message prompt on the screen when it's time to move into round 2. The host will move alumni to a different themed breakout room. Students can choose to either remain in the current room or can move themselves to another breakout room. At the end of round 2, all participants will be prompted to return to the main room. You'll get instructions for networking round 3 and more information about today's job prices when you come back. Breakout rooms are now open. See you all back in 20 minutes.
Hi, do you mind sending me an invitation again?
Yeah, we will try to do that.
Thank you so much.
So for those of you who are struggling to join a room, if you click on the bottom of your screen on breakout rooms, and you can see the open list of breakout rooms. And you can join one. If there is a room that you cannot join, you can say let us know and we can help you joining a specific room.
Shabnam, I have a question.
Yeah.
Are three of the alums supposed to be in the same room for the factors influencing career development or separate rooms?
Sorry, say that again.
Are three of the alums who are supposed to be part of factors influencing career development, are they supposed to be in the same breakout room or different breakout rooms?
Separate.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yep. For those who have not yet joined the room, let us know in the chat if you would like to join a room and you're unable to do that, and we can assist you with that.
recorded.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you to our audience for tuning in and participating in the conversation today. Thank you again to our wonderful speakers for sharing your experiences and providing us all with more tools for our professional development. I hope that you're leaving here with some great lessons learned and valuable things to think about as you prepare for the world of work. I encourage you to reach out to alumni beyond this event and continue conversations you had today. Please use the QR code or link sent in our event chat to provide us with feedback about today's event. We will also be emailing you this post-event survey shortly. Students who respond to this survey will be entered to win one of 3 $50 Uber Eats gift cards. Your responses will help us in improving future iterations of our events and to offer more meaningful networking and mentorship opportunities that support your career development. Launch Your Career in Canada events will continue throughout this week. For more events and content hosted by the Center for Career, hosted by the CSINC, please log into the Careers Online. Thank you all again for your time and have a really lovely evening.